And then they talk about why he wouldn't pray over someone that was in debt. And one of the positions is that was to try to just as a deterrent for people dying in debt, and so for fear of the loss of the rights of others. And then some of the scholars say that his prayer was answered, and so if he prayed for the excuse and forgiveness of someone, then their rights might be lost, meaning that they would, they die and they would owe, or the rights of those who were owed might be lost because they die and this person owed them the right, and then the Prophet ﷺ prayed for their forgiveness, so Allah effaced everything, but then this person still hasn't had their right compensated for. And that's an explanation they give. But then again later, he started actually taking care of the debts himself. Allahumma salli wa sallam wa barak alayhi wa ala alihi. And then that's something that we have to be careful of. And actually, if you owe someone, it's obligatory to put it in your will. Like if you fear that it'll be lost, it's obligatory for you to put it in your will. And if you can, to try to leave collateral, or ask the person to excuse you if you die, or have someone, the person who you've left your will with, make sure that they go and take care of it and see that your debts are covered, or that they try to seek an excuse or cover them themselves. When we were in Damascus, our teacher said that they used to have like a pedestal near the Umayyad Mosque, and they would leave the deceased there, and they called it Sijn al-Amwat, like the prison of the dead. And they mentioned that, they said that because that's what happens to the dead when he dies in debt. Is that like he's imprisoned in the grave rather than being allowed to enjoy the reward of the grave, and also the soul of someone who dies in a good state is allowed to move around while he's in the barzakh. His body's in the barzakh and he's in the barzakhi state. It's allowed to move about, but someone who dies in debt is prison, so they would have like a pedestal, and after the person died, and before they buried them, if they died in debt, they would place the person there, and then people would pass by and know that so-and-so is in debt, and just give charity basically to get him out of prison. Boy, they put him in the grave and he was truly, in fact, in prison. And that's a long time. The grave, you can be in bliss, like someone who died in the Prophet ﷺ's time, they've been in bliss of the grave, like maybe on a bed of paradise, clothed in garments of paradise, with a window open between them and paradise. Their spirit is able to move around. From some of the theologians say, from like the graveyard to the door of paradise, they're able to move their spirit, and then all of that time they're in the barzakh enjoying it, and then what they're headed to is better. But if they die with these unfulfilled rights, you're missing out on all of that. And also there you're able to visit your previously dead relatives while you're in the barzakh. But again, if you're die in debt, you're mahbus, you're contained. Nasallallahu salam al-afiyah. So as they say, ad-dain shayn ad-deen. And nasallallahu salam al-afiyah. Are there questions on this? If not, we'll move into guaranteeing debt a little bit, insha'Allah ta'ala. But we could take questions on that. It's pretty straightforward though. Bismillah. Do you understand the transferal of debt? Because you came in a little bit late. Yeah. Okay. A, B, C. Hijra was A, but then you became A, B, C. A owes B, B owes C. B removes himself by transferring the debt that A owes him to C who he owes.
But it has to be similar.
It has to be
if I owe him apples and he owes him oranges,
right.
He can't transfer.
Right, that's right. Or if you owe him pesos and he owes him dollars, you can't transfer. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Any questions from the sisters? How is A supposed to know that C is telling the truth? They could have it witnessed, or he could also ask B. But if it was denied, then you get into how those disputes are settled, and who is believed and so forth, and we'd have to review for that. But typically it's praiseworthy in mu'amalat to have transactions witnessed and also to write them. It's not obligatory, but those are praiseworthy, and certainly in that case it would be a good idea, so that what you asked about does not occur. Yeah.
I'm glad you're talking about this subject because I have this situation. Maybe inshallah we're done with
Alhamdulillah. Inshallah ta'ala. Inshallah ta'ala.
I can actually show it to you.
Alhamdulillah. Inshallah ta'ala. Khairan. So we'll move on to guaranteeing payment. That one, mashallah. Guaranteeing payment. So the author says, رضي الله عنه وعنكم فصل يصح ضمان الديون المستقرة في الذمة إذا علم قدرها ولصاحب الحق مطالبة من شاء من الضامن والمضمون عنه وإذا كان الضمان على ما بينا وإذا غرم الضامن رجع على المضمون عنه وإذا كان الضمان والقضاء بإذنه ولا يصح ضمان المجهول ولا ما لم يجب إلا درك المبيع. So then this author says, or this translator says, 7.10, guaranteeing payment. And let's define it first. الضمان لغة الالتزام وشرعا التزام حق ثابت في ذمة الغير. الضمان لغة الالتزام وشرعا التزام حق ثابت في ذمة الغير. So guaranteeing is linguistically just taking on responsibility. And in the sacred law, it's taking on the responsibility for a right which is owed by a second party. So basically, I owe Sundiata, and Sidi Mikhail says, I'll guarantee the debt. It's basically like co-signing a loan. So then the person who is owed can either go back to the person who initially owed him or to his guarantor. And if the person who initially owed him is like in a state where they can't pay, then the person who's owed can go back to the person who guaranteed it, provided that if the person who is owed gets it from the guarantor, if he did that with the with his own consent and the knowledge and so forth, then he can go back to the first person later, the person who he co-signed for, and collect it from him. But there's circumstances where he can't go back, and it's an issue. And they say that initially, when you guarantee, you feel good about it, but later, oftentimes, you'll regret. So it's kind of a dangerous transaction, and basically it's taking on a responsibility. But that's the gist of it. And then we'll go through some of the details here and also finish it next week, because the time's probably going to catch us. It is permissible to guarantee payment of debts that have the potential to become irrevocably established if the amount is known. The person owed is entitled to seek payment from the guarantor and the one for whom he guarantees. If the debt is, as we have clarified, so if the debt is, it's an amount that's known and it's irrevocably established, then he can go back to either party. If the guarantor pays, he seeks reimbursement from the one for whom he guaranteed if the guarantee and payment was with his permission. So basically, if I owe Sundiata and Sidi Mikhail guarantees, and then if Sidi Mikhail pays it with my knowledge and consent, then he can seek it from me. But if he just paid it, out of, I'll get it and just handled it, and without telling me, then I could say Jazakallahu khair.